So now we're going to bring on our first guest, who's Gia Scirrotto, who's president of the College Democrats at High Point University in North Carolina. Welcome, Gia. Hey.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Having me.
So, one of the things that we're always talking about with state guests on our programs is how people should vote safely in that state. The laws are different in every state you go. So what are you telling folks about the safest, most convenient ways to vote in North Carolina?
Well, personally, we've really been advocating for voting early, which starts on October 15th in North Carolina. And it's just like one stop in person early voting. And something cool about North Carolina is that now we have drive-up voting. So you can curbside vote at early voting and on the election day. And I mean, the State Board of Elections does want to say that absentee ballot voting is, of course, safe still, and vote by mail is still safe. And those are options if you're really worried about coronavirus and voting. And they're just as good as voting in person, but particularly we like early voting because in North Carolina, when you early vote, you can go to any polling station in your precinct or in your district, not just your assigned precinct, as opposed to like how you would on election day. And also we have same day registration. If something's wrong with your registration or you somehow it lapsed or you forgot to register, if you go early vote, you can do it right there and cast your vote the same day.
Very cool. Do people need ID or anything like that?
Nope. But so if you don't have your registration and you're going to early vote, you have to have something. So if you don't have an ID, you can have your college ID or like a utility bill with your name and address on it. So but you don't need it to vote regularly, but you only really need that if your registration is something's wrong with it or you actually really need to register that day.
Gotcha. Very cool. And I know another benefit of early voting is you get off all of the call and text lists.
Yeah, that's probably the best benefit of it.
So what are some of the candidates that your Young Dems Club is supporting?
So we're located in High Point, North Carolina, which is in the Triad. So we have our local elections that we're usually really active in. And then there's also Roy Cooper as governor. We're supporting him. And of course, Cal Cunningham, we're trying to, rally for him because we really want to flip the Senate seat more than anything. And we're doing volunteer for our local state house and our local, state Senate. So seats, so those are really important. And I think that every College Dems chapter in North Carolina is really focusing on that because we just always try to stress the importance of the more state and local legislation because that's what really affects us the most, particularly as college students. So.
Totally. And yeah, it's one of those things where the states we focused on are ones where the state house is in play as well. And I think I only realized a couple of years ago how your state house determines things like your reproductive choice rights often, and how money is allocated to things like colleges and universities, and just things that, like you said, affect day-to-day life in the states.
And particularly North Carolina has a conservative state house, and we did have the bathroom bill. I don't know if you remember that not too long ago, and that was a function of that. So we try to place emphasis on flipping those seats as well.
And then, of course, there's the gerrymandering piece where whoever controls the state house.
So exciting.
Yes.
We did get a mandate to redraw our districts, and specifically in my area, they have been redrawn and has been a tremendous help because before they were doing the whole packing and cracking thing in our area, and it was making a huge difference in our representation. And we've seen just from 2018 to now that how much that's changed within the primary elections. So
that's exciting. So awesome.
Yeah,
I'm so glad to hear that. How can people get involved? What's your club doing, and how can people participate?
So we aren't doing any door-to-door canvassing just because of COVID. Obviously, not the time to be showing up at people's houses. So we're stressing phone banking and text banking. And there are a lot of easy ways to get involved. And our biggest thing is Guilford County and Forsyth County, where the counties surrounding us are really looking for poll workers. And that's primarily also a function of COVID, because a lot of poll workers are older and feel a bit unsafe going to work the polls and being in contact with that many people. So we're trying to really rally together and get all of us to do early voting, poll working, and poll working on election day, because it's so important that we ensure these democratic processes actually work. So while that's not necessarily, about flipping the Senate, it's still really important to ensure our democracy is actually functioning.
Absolutely. And that's a great call for people to sign up to be poll workers wherever they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a real need, and young people haven't really stepped up to that in the past. So we're trying to do that. Plus, you do get paid. At least in our counties, you get paid, which is even more exciting for a college kid. So even more reason to go do it. And we do phone banking for the people running for House in our district, and phone banking for Cal Cunningham is really important. Any way you can do, you can go onto his website and say volunteer, get involved, and you can be interested in text banking, phone banking, letters to the editor, all those kinds of things. So any way that you can help helps.
Well, thank you so much, Gia. I really appreciate you coming on here, sharing what you've been up to and what's going on in North Carolina. And best of luck to your club and everything you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.